Speaking of backups, still on the search for our backup point guard, Darius Garland, making it look like it isn't an extreme necessity, but we've tried out Rajon Rondo, signed him. He's dealing with some injuries right now. Ricky Rubio likely out for the season, Colin Sexton out. And just, there was also rumors about Eric Gordon and potentially being a trade target for the Cavaliers. Not sure who they would give up, but I don't know. This team, Eric, this team is solid. I know trades are fun to talk about, but I feel like you ride with this team. Even Rondo was like a tough one to add to the mix.
Yeah, I mean, as far as our playoff roster and expectations of rotations, I would anticipate obviously Garland getting the lion's share of minutes at point guard, and I would expect Rondo to be in certain situations, likely key defensive stops, or maybe as a facilitator to Allen and Mobley in situations that would dictate us getting the ball to the bigger guys, having that size matchup, not worrying about a lot of shooting from our backcourt. I would be open to taking less, and as far as not necessarily a superstar point guard, because I'm hoping that we have one currently, or at least on that path. So not giving up a whole lot and getting a guy like an Eric Gordon or just a role player that can maybe get 10 to 15 minutes a game that can just kind of tread water. Brandon Goodwin has been playing some minutes, and I think he's trying really hard, but I hope it, in a playoff game, it doesn't come down necessarily to his efforts in one of the late heroics of a game. So I'm like to improve upon that position within the Cavs. So, I mean, the only other thing I could think is, looking at Colin Sexton's contract and maybe working a move for a solid veteran if the money matches up and we can get him for a longer period than 1 year. That's something I wouldn't roll out, but for now, I would just make a minimal move and just solidify whatever depth is still required at the point guard position through the rest of the regular season and in the playoffs.
Yeah, I don't know if you guys saw Saturday Night Live this past Saturday, but they had a pretty awesome segment talking about the NBA. It was the NBA on TNT with Charles and Kenny. And the spoof there was that the NBA is, they had the mighty Nets going up against the Sacramento Kings, and the Kings were ravaged by COVID and had children playing, fans playing, and someone's dad being the coach. I feel like that has impacted many teams, of course, and I don't know, the Cavs have been impacted, but it sort of seems like the Cavs have weathered a couple of these surges just based on their depth. Drew, this team is deep. I wonder if they're deep enough just to roll with the rest of the season here.
Yeah, I mean they have 7 players right now that average over 10 points per game, and if you include Colin Sexton and Ricky Rubio, that number jumps to 9 players on their roster that average over 10 points per game, which is almost unheard of. I mean, that is, think about that, 9 players averaged over 10 points per game. Like that is a ton. So I think they are one of the deepest teams, I think, in the NBA, which is one of the reasons that they've been able to really sort of keep it together here in spite of some of these injuries that they've had. Jared Allen's been in and out, Evan Mobley's missed some time, Okoro's missed some time. Obviously, Sexton's out for the year, Rubio's out for the year now. But I think this depth is one of the Cavaliers' biggest strengths. With all that said, you have to trade Ricky Rubio's expiring contract. That is an asset that other teams really want to acquire. So I think that move absolutely has to be on the table. I think the Cavs need to include a first-round pick at this point. They really don't need that mid to late 20s type of a pick that they would get if things keep going this way, right? yeah, you protect that maybe top 10. But I can't imagine the Cavs being in a position that they would want to add somebody, at the back half of this roster. They simply don't need it at this point. So we've talked a little bit about Eric Gordon, just to sort of close the book on him. He's 6'3". He would be a good backup point guard. He's averaging 15 points per game, and he's shooting his career best from three right now. He's at one point this year, he was averaging over 50%. He's still in the elite range. He's averaging over 45% from three this year, which would be a really solid addition. You could work him on offense, Rondo on defense, figure out sort of what you needed most at that point in the game. I think that would be a really solid addition. I'll give you one additional name that I've heard sort of bantied about there on NBA Twitter. That's Karis Levert from the Indiana Pacers. He's the 6'6" shooting guard. He's only 27. He's a really good wing. Now he doesn't shoot the three quite as well as Eric Gordon, so I could see that being the reason they might look for Gordon. But he can give you some scoring from the wing. He can play shooting guard. That's probably his best position, which is something that they might need come playoff time. Again, it's going to depend on what they feel like the Iceman Okoro can do for them. If he can shoot it at anything resembling a decent clip, 35% from three, close to 50% from the floor, if he can do that, then there's no need to go get Levert. But if you don't trust that out of Okoro, I think Levert might be the route that they go in this Ricky Rubio expiring contract.